get some history right on your desk there.
Hi, my name is Dan Barry, and I'm here for a lot of different reasons. First and foremost, I work for the Jewish Federation, and I'm looking to connect and find all sorts of Jews in their 20s and 30s around the east side of LA, and somehow get them connected and build a whole Jewish community. There's a lot of Jews here, and not as much programming as there can be for them. And second off, I'm here because I'm actually the fifth generation Angelino Jew. My great-great-grandparents were members of the synagogue. And so it's very, very special and a big honor and privilege to be here and be part of the program. An amazing tour we just had from Stephen. So thank you so much for having me. And now, before we start our program, this is the mitzvah of the Arba Mimim, of the 4 kinds. Each of these 4 plants, it says in the Torah, it's a mitzvah for every Jew to take them and bind them together and wave them. And so the question is, what is this all about? So there's a lot to be said, but very short. Each of the 4 types of plants, there's a citron and etrog, the myrtle, which is hadas, aravot, which are willow, and the long palm of the date tree. And they correspond to 4 different types of people, 4 different types of Jews, 4 different types of personalities. And the idea is that we bring them all together and we wave them as a sign of unity and oneness to take the energy of the sukkah, the shelter, being surrounded with the shelter of God's protection, and bring it into our heart. Which is why when we wave it, we take it into our heart. So everyone who's interested, I put around very quickly and do a quick little participation, and then we'll get on to the show, I suppose, yeah? Okay, thanks so much.
Okay, so much for good planning. But my name is Mitch Kamen. I serve with Steve Sass on the board of the Breed Street Shul project. I appreciate Steve taking care of the religious part of the program because it's not exactly my forte. I think I was asked to do this because I'm a big music fan. And I'm really, really excited for the program that we have here today. Let me just say that, can you hear me without the mic?
No.
All right, I'll keep it going. The Breed Street Shul project is a 501c3 nonprofit whose mission is to restore and revitalize this historic space in Boyle Heights, the Breed Street Shul. Many of us have personal connections here. My parents were born in Boyle Heights, and though they, in their teen years, moved west, where I was born, but when we had my son Noah's bar mitzvah, we decided to have it in this room. And in the course of preparing for that, we learned that my grandfather had also been bar mitzvah here. And you hear, as you just heard right before me, of similar connections like this within the Jewish community, and it's been incredibly enriching for me and my family to rediscover this neighborhood, to work with a nonprofit whose mission is to build connections between communities, between the Jewish community and the Latino community, with Japanese Americans, African Americans, others who have called Boyle Heights home. This is a very, very powerful place, and we invite all of you to get involved. We appreciate you being here today. As a nonprofit, we do need folks' financial support, and as you'll be able to see after the program is over, the main sanctuary, which is an incredibly gorgeous space, is a wreck. And although it's been seismically repaired to a certain extent, and the stained glass windows replaced, and lots of heavy labor has been done, we've got a long way to go. And so we will very much look forward to the time when we can welcome you all back into that space. But for now, thanks to the work of the board, before the time I joined, this space has been beautifully renovated, and we can use it for programs like this. One of the other great programs that Breed Street has is something called History in the Box, which I just wanted to flag for you. It's in partnership with USC, and is designed to ensure that kids in the neighborhood today have a sense of the history of Boyle Heights. And so staff from Breed Street Shul and volunteers go around the Boyle Heights neighborhood and in greater LA teaching this history so that everyone knows it, as well as those of us who worked here or lived here through our families. A few thank yous. Sherry Marks and Leslie Blackman in particular, where Leslie's in back. Sherry took your name at the door. Sherry's right there. Sure, thank you. Thank you both for putting this program together. This is the Boyle Heights Heroes program is super cool. I don't know how many of you were here for the first program about community activism, or the second around food, but they were great, and this one will be just as good, I'm sure. Thanks to Steve Sass and Jeremy Sunderland for guiding some of you through the Boyle Heights neighborhood, through Jewish Historical Society. Thank you, Orly Olivier and Sandy Zaragoza, who helped us run this event today and volunteered. We appreciate it. And then finally, to fellow board members Joaquin Castellanos and Zoe Corbin, who are here. Can you guys just say hello? Anyway, so again, on behalf of the board and the organization, we appreciate you being here. We're going to be celebrating the 100th anniversary of the Breed Street Shul this year, so be on the lookout for other programming. And if you want to get involved in any way, talk to any of us who are here from the board or volunteering. It's my great pleasure and honor to turn it over now to my good friend Josh Kuhn. Josh and I first met through a program called Reboot, which Lisa knows well, about 13, 14 years ago, when he was researching why so many salsa bands played traditional Yiddish songs. And he's continuing. You can make a career of this stuff. It's really great. So Josh is a professor at USC, truly renowned in this field, in our city, in the country, and so we could have no better moderator for today's program. So I'll turn it over to Josh. Thank you.
Too loud? This is how you know it's a Jewish crowd. The first thing that happens is that hands go over the ears. Well, it's gonna get louder. I'm sorry. First, I want to point out to those of you who might not have noticed, if you were taking the tour or if you are hanging out in the neighborhood at all, or walking around the neighborhood after the event, it has been mentioned that we are in the midst of Sukkot. And I just do want to remind folks that this panel is going to be, will deal with Jewish culture and Jewish identity, but we are also this panel is taking place in the heart of a living neighborhood. So the closest to Sukkot that you're going to see around the neighborhood looks a lot like Sukkot, but it looks like something that happens pretty much every single weekend in a Chicano Mexicano backyard, which is a tarp over the backyard, and tacos being cooked and asada in the backyard. Looks just like a Sukkot setup. So that's my religion right there. So we're here to talk about and celebrate the world of Boyle Heights and its relationship to music, particularly popular music. And I wanted to start with a roll call of just a few of the people, a few of the incredible musical acts who have come out of this neighborhood or who are affiliated with this neighborhood in some way. It's a short list, but it's a pretty mighty one. We'll start with the Nisei Serenaders, Lena Cano, La Banda Típica de Mujeres in the 1940s. If you pass by one of the murals on your tour, Mariachi Vargas de Teclitan, Piporro, Mickey Katz, Tada Brooks, Chuck Higgins, Joe Houston, Johnny Otis, Herb Alpert, Joe Liggins, Big J, the Armenta Brothers, Little Julian, Norman Grand, War, Chico Sesma, Don Tosti, Paul Lopez, Little Willie G, Los Lobos, The Brat, Benny Goodman, Stevie Wonder, Dinah Washington, Count Basie, who broke the color line in all of Los Angeles when he played the Paramount Ballroom in 1939, thanks to the communists in the neighborhood. Rubén Guevara was in the house with us today. Los Illegals, Olin, Las Cafeteras, Ozone Motley, Will.i.am, Chicano Son, and our three incredible panelists who are continuing this legacy today. So welcome that roll call, and now we're going to bring up our incredible panelists to the stage. First up, we'll start with somebody who I cannot imagine what post-World War II Los Angeles popular music would be in any of its musical forms, in its business forms, in its creative forms. There are full bios of all of our incredible guests, so I'm not going to read the full bios. I'm going to give you quick, abbreviated improvised bios. But I'm talking about the legendary Lou Adler. Come on, baby. Amazing. Now, come on up. Have a seat. Legendary songwriter responsible for so many pop songs, many of which you might not actually know, that Lou had a hand in. One of my favorite Lou Adler compositions, co-compositions, is a minor song called What a Wonderful World that Sam Cooke brought to the world. Known as a songwriter, as a producer, music producer for the legendary likes of Carole King, a film producer for, again, small, minor hit films like the Rocky Horror Picture Show. Films that really just come out once and never repeat, never brought back out over the years. Kind of amazing. As a film director, who worked with two very funny Jewish comedians named Cheech and Chong. And as an impresario with the Roxy Theater and the Monterey Pop Festival, to name just a very, very, very small handful of Lou's incredible accomplishments. But a total honor to have you here, Lou. Next up, we've got Martha Gonzalez. Martha, come on, I got you big water. Perhaps best known for her Grammy-winning work as a founding member and leader of Quetzal, incredible band Quetzal. Martha, I want to point out, is also the author of a forthcoming book that's coming out, what, in 2 weeks, Martha? Called A de Activista, incredible children's book that Martha wrote. That'll be coming out in a couple weeks. Her tarima and her tarima kicks, her tarima shoes, were just, what's the proper word? Were just memorialized and handed in to the National Museum of American History in Washington, D.C. She's also a professor now at Scripps College here nearby and is working on her first full-scale scholarly monograph, which will be coming out soon, called Chicano Activistas, East Los Angeles Teaches Trans-Border Tactics, a title that, what is it? Trenches. All right, there we go. And is someone who has been an instrumental member of the music community on both sides of the LA River for many, many years, so we're honored to have you here. And rounding out, yes. And finishing up the panel, we're very, very thrilled to have Suzanne Gindin, who is director of Boyle Heights Community Youth Orchestra. Suzanne has conducted orchestras in Illinois, and Indiana, Oregon, and Michigan, been teaching music in a number of different places and contexts for many years. Perhaps most importantly, is now currently a full-time music teacher at the Hollenbeck Middle School here in Boyle Heights. So we've got a real range of folks who are representing the past, present, and future of Boyle Heights. So we'll start, and I'm going to make the awkward transition between microphones.